Aloha. I'm Desmond Hakias with Healing with Aloha Podcast. Thank you for joining us. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor.fm, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to have Sierra Marchand on our podcast today. She is a writer. She launched her Instagram called Forever Grief Journey, and I'm amazed how the community on Instagram for grief support allows us to find each other without trying. And I reached out to her because I felt that she has so much in her heart that she desires to help not only adults but also children because of the impact of her grief journey has had on her and her brother, who's 7 years old. So with further ado, everyone, this is Sierra.
Hi guys, I'm Sierra, also known as Forever Grief Journey. I started my Instagram more of like a self-diary series to see my growth and my healing and how far I've come. And it gained a little bit of traction. I'm interacting with a lot of people and I'm trying to help others and myself on our grief journeys.
Gosh, I need to start taking notes because I feel like there's certain times when I'm on certain people's Instagrams, and that's how I come across people that I would never have found had I not seen you guys on Instagram. Can you share a little bit of why it was important for you to share your story about your mom?
Absolutely. So my mom passed away unexpectedly. It was very out of nowhere. We had no idea that it was coming. And I felt like there were other people like me that were experiencing the same thing in their early 20s, facing life and challenges like as a normal girl in your 20s and then losing a parent. And also when I lost my mom, I gained a child basically, which is my little brother. So I felt like it was very important to share my unique story and also children's journeys through grief because it's very, very important and there's very little resources for them and how to help their bereavement.
What do you feel that you've learned the most since mom passed away? What have you learned the most about grief and how people have a difficult time? It's like I was explaining it to someone, like it's like that white elephant that is
Yes.
in the room, and you and I see it, and we talk about it, but everybody else is like, no, it's not there. Like,
Yeah.
what have you learned since your mom's passing?
The biggest thing I've learned is that healing is not linear. Like I have had days, it's only been 4 months, but I've had days that are just as hard and painful and like physiological as the first day. And some days I'm like so happy and cheerful and it's almost like I kind of forgot that my mom passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say the other thing that I learned was not to sweat the small stuff. I felt like I spent so much time worrying and like being anxious about every little thing. And now that my mom has passed, it's almost like you can see life like through an HD lens almost.
Mm-hmm.
Really just, I don't know, just let things go that aren't important.
Yeah, so basically you feel that the things like prior to her passing away was like major important,
Oh, yeah.
and now you're like, you know what, I'm safe, my brother's safe, we're fine.
Exactly. As long as you have those essentials taken care of, nothing else matters.
Wow.
Yeah.
How's Aiden doing?
He's doing great. I think he's doing great for what he's been through. It's been very hard getting him into children's grief counseling, which is a big shame because I've been in counseling since probably 3 days after my mom passed away. So it's been my job to find like activities and ways to talk to him about loss and what can we do? What can we like draw or do art or create where we can heal? And so, yeah, I think he's doing pretty well.
Is there a lot of resources that you found? I mean, I know right now we're in a difficult situation. Did you find anyone nearby that specializes in children for bereavement?
Yes. So there's one company, they're called Elizabeth Hospice, and they offer free children's grief counseling, which I've been trying to get into since my mom passed. But with the pandemic, everything's been closed down. They're very hard to get a hold of. Some people aren't working, some are working remotely. So it's been really, really difficult. But it's almost been a blessing because I have to take it into my own hands, because time is precious. And I feel like every single day that we can heal or like move forward in healing it's everything we need to do.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I had done an interview with Alex, Grief Uncovered, and so she had lost her parents had passed away when she was 8 years old and 15, and she went through counseling. She said she doesn't really remember what happened, like, you know, during that time, but she just knows that just having someone there is what helped her. And then my first interview for this year was with a grief educator, and she actually wrote a book.
Oh my god.
How like a workbook about grieving, and she wrote, I believe, 3 illustration books for children.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so I'll definitely give you that information. She addresses like how to deal with explaining to a child about grief, and it has illustrations. And then if they have a pet, a pet passes away. Yeah, and it's great. She used to be this therapist. She has her own practice, but she used to be in hospice care for a children's hospital.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, and then she, over the years, she's had loved one pass away, and so she said that like that's what prepared her, and so she's a grief educator. But I'll share with you about those books. I actually have like the workbook in one of the children's books.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah, so she said it's different when you're dealing with children and stuff like that. But art is really good, you know, in reading and stuff like that. It's more creative.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is like the memory, like the happiest memory, or that you reflect upon mom, or like, you know, what has helped you?
That's a great question. So even though my mom has passed away, I still feel so connected to her spiritually. So I think when I feel most connected to her even now is just reflecting back on like the little things we would do together. Like she would always go above and beyond for me, but I feel like those really special moments where you're like just hanging out together on the couch or like just cruising around in the car, those are like my favorite moments with her.
Do you have music that comes up that makes you remember her?
Whitney Houston.
Really?
She loved Whitney Houston. Yeah. Or Lizzo.
Really?
Whenever I hear Lizzo, I think of her. And she would always quote Lizzo on Facebook. That's so cute.
You had a hip mom.
She's very
well, like, what is your favorite like things you share on your Instagram? Because I see you do some great quotes.
Oh, thank you. So whenever I post on Instagram, it's because I have like something that I really need to get out. So when I post, it's usually, I hate to say it, it's either I'm going through a very hard time or like I can see the light. There's really no in between. So I feel like it's either or.
Right.
And I quote my mom a lot. There's little tidbits where I quote my mom a lot. Like one of my posts was, "Your best is always good enough." She would always tell me that. So I always try to remember like little sweet things she would say to me.
So what does your best is good enough mean to you that has really helped you?
Yeah. So I'm very hard on myself. I always have been. And I would always go to my mom with my troubles or my worries. She was that person that would sit there and listen. And then at the end, she would always tell me like, anything you do, it's good enough. Like you try your best and your best is always good enough. So it's always like just a sweet reminder that like you can do anything. And if it feels like it isn't enough, it always is.
I think
Oh,
that's a great thing to tell a child,
yeah.
that you don't have to prove anything to anyone, that as long as you know in your heart you did your
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
And I think it's great that you do a lot of quotes, from your mother, because you find people who maybe didn't have a close relationship with their own mother, or they did, and then it allows you to connect and have compassion on
Yeah.
other people. Yeah.
Mhm. I love that.
What is one thing you would recommend for someone who who has like had someone pass away suddenly, that like what is one or two tips that you would recommend for them to do? I mean, I have my own in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Do
Me
you
too.
have like a few that you would like to share?
Mhm. I always feel like no matter what type of emotion that you're feeling, just accept it, lean into it, just let yourself feel it. If it's anger, if it's like ugly crying, if it's like thinking about the good times, the bad times, just let yourself feel. And I feel like you will feel connected to that person when you allow yourself to feel those feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And also, just take it one day at a time. Sometimes it's going to be 1 hour at a time. Some days it's going to be one day at a time, minute by minute. You just let yourself be.
That's great that you said that, because I feel the same way. I think because of the way my sister had died from a vehicle accident, I was numb for a long
Yes.
time. But when I finally could allow myself to lean in into
Mm-hmm.
the feelings of anger, sadness, whatever it is, only then I could be able to feel joy and
Yeah.
happiness. Because it's like a pull and a release, like an
Mm-hmm.
ebb and flow. Like I always compare it to like the beach, the ocean.
Yeah.
And so when you allow yourself to lean in, it's scary, and
Mm-hmm.
it gets ugly cries and it gets real. But
And
when
that was the first advice that I ever got when my mom died. I called my aunt because she lost her father when she was in her 20s. And I just wanted, like, just tell me what to do. Like, what do I do? How do I move forward? And she just told me, look for the signs. And she told me, lean into your pain. Just like lean into it. Don't ever fight it. And that was the best advice that anyone could have ever given me.
it's so weird, because don't you feel that like in society we tend to just find distractions and to like numb out?
Yes. And I don't really believe in distractions. I do not believe in that. Or I don't truly believe that time heals. Not something like this. You really have to put in the work with yourself to heal.
Yeah, like you said, it varies. Sometimes it's a minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day. I've told people, when you're grieving and you start getting depressed, sometimes getting out of bed is success.
Yes, absolutely. Like yesterday was 4 months since my mom passed. The
Mm-hmm.
first 3 hours of my day were horrible. I was feeling terrible. I didn't want to get out of bed. And then randomly, I got a little burst of energy, got outside, got some coffee and lunch, and the rest of my day was just beautiful. So you can never tell.
It's just like it's like your body is aware.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like that anniversary. It
Yes.
knows.
Mm-hmm.
And then like you said, I I think it does make a difference when you go outside in nature, even if you're just sitting on a chair looking outside,
Yeah.
than if you're sitting inside looking at a wall.
Yes. And if the sun's hitting you, there's birds, there's butterflies, that is like a beautiful reminder of life.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yes, because then it grounds you. It
Yeah.
doesn't like it it doesn't minus all what's happened is just it distracts you, but then it calms you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was never an outdoorsy person. I used to hate being outside, but since my mom has passed, I'm like, when I'm in my office, I'm like, I need to get out and like listen to some birds. And then I'll go outside and there's butterflies and dragonflies. And I'm like, "Oh, it feels so good, you know, especially because I connect with my mom through like monarch butterflies. That's like a
Oh,
big thing for her and I.
yeah. Yeah, because I see a lot of your posts as butterflies, and I love butterflies too. It's
Yeah,
all about transformation and change, because life
definitely.
is we're always changing.
Hmm.
It's just sometimes we're not ready for that change.
Yeah, that is so true. That's exactly it.
Like it can change, but on my timeline.
Yeah. Exactly. When I'm ready.
No, no,
Yeah.
not yet. um, I wanted to ask you, for Aiden,
Uh-huh.
what do you feel um, is one thing that you feel he's been able to do to help him to connect with mom, or
Uh-huh.
like it's a transition for him. It's only been 4 months, and I know that you've been trying to work closely with him because of the pandemic and not being able to get him into counseling. I mean, is there any suggestions you have for someone else?
Yeah. So we talk out loud. We talk out loud to our mom. We were kind of raised in the church, so we're Christian, so we pray. And my mom has always wanted him to pray on his own. So we pray to God and to our mom. So that's a big way that we connect with her. But we always talk to her out loud
Mm.
because I am very honest with him. So the first time I spoke to my mom out loud after she passed away, I basically asked her to show me a very specific sign, and basically it happened. So the way I explained it to Aiden was, please speak out loud to her. She can hear you. Like, she will answer your prayers, and she will never leave you. So that's how we connect with her. We speak to her out loud. We hold pictures of her. We do all of that.
Oh, I did something that helped me. I don't know if you ever did it before. I got a notebook, and I would write letters to her or my sister, like just everything, kind of like the same thing, but then it was more like it's me and her. And then when I started feeling a little bit more grounded, I created a scrapbook
I
from when
have to
she
do
was
that.
from when she was young
Uh-huh.
until she became an adult.
Oh, I love that. I
Yeah,
have to do that. On my
actually.
mom's birthday, we wrote her letters, and he wrote a letter and drew her a picture, and we like attached it to some balloons, and we let it go by our favorite spot.
Wow, yeah.
And then for Mother's Day, we got her like what did we get her? Little cards, and we like wrote letters in them and stuff. So we've been
That's
doing a little
good
bit of
because
that.
you're teaching him like it's like a passage, or what do you call that? Like when you guys created your own a ritual,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
and then he knows it's a signal for him, like, okay, it's that time of the year we're celebrating mom's life.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's also a good way for him to let out his emotions because it's so hard to talk about. He's only in first grade. I can
Oh,
imagine what goes through his head, and it's very hard. A lot of times he doesn't like to talk about our mom passing away. He likes talking about her, of her, but when we talk about her passing away, he chokes up and cries. And that's kind of like a trigger for him. He doesn't want to cry. Therefore, he doesn't want to talk about the hard stuff. So when we write letters and cards and draw pictures, it's like his medium or his outlet that he can write how he's feeling.
yeah,
So,
so
so
young. That is really
yeah,
young. First
baby.
grade.
He's
Yeah.
a baby. Mhm.
it, I mean, I don't know what we were thinking when we were that young. It's really heavy. So I'm glad that you found a way to help him without it being so triggering for him.
Exactly.
Because in due time, he'll be able to comprehend it fully.
Yeah. And I also want him to be able to look back, kind of like how I am with Instagram. I want him when he's 12, 13 years old to have like, I don't know, like just a little paper trail of how far he's come since he was 7 years old.
That'll be great. Yeah, definitely that'll be great, because then he'll see where he was at and then now.
Yeah, because I look back to when I started my Instagram. I started it a month after my mom passed, and just like the heaviness and the darkness of everything I was posting and everything in the captions, it's nice like seeing how far I've come already in just 121 days.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of courage to share your raw feelings and emotions, but you're gonna find that there's people on there that are grateful for your honesty and your courage.
I hope so.
Because when I read, I do respond. I don't know if you notice, I comment and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it makes me reflect on my family who passed away, and it's good. Like, it's really good because it's fresh for you.
Yes.
And I don't think we should ever feel like we have to move on.
Yeah, no, there's no moving on. I truly believe that, like, since my mom passed, it's like our relationship, I still have such a strong bond and relationship with her. It's now going to be forever different because now it's a spiritual relationship, but it still feels so ever present. Yeah. And it's just like convincing yourself and others that, like, listen, I can't explain a lot of things, but my mom is with me and I know it and I can feel it. And I always tell her to never leave me.
It's amazing because when you can have a perspective about them being with us spiritually, it's more comforting.
Yes.
And it gives us strength. However, depending on how like people pass away, we all receive it differently. I know I didn't always view it the way you view it, like it being bonded spiritually, and so it was more heart crushing.
Yeah.
In the beginning, for a while, until I was able to get to a point where I realized she was still with me, like really with me, because your heart, feel that heaviness.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I have felt a few times since my mom passed where like I wasn't feeling her, I wasn't seeing signs of her, and it was like very heart crushing. So I feel like I've definitely felt both sides.
That's good, because people need to realize when you grieve, it's not going to be perfect. Like, it's not like, how to explain life. Life isn't perfect. You're on a journey, and your journey is going to look different. And you can't compare your grief journey with someone else and just feel like, man, she's so happy, she's so this, you know what I mean? And then some people, they maybe in the front they're happy, but on the back end, they're not as open to sharing about, how difficult it can be behind closed doors.
Yeah. And I think if you're one of those people, if you follow some accounts where there's people that are open about it and they're honest and they're transparent, I feel like that is so helpful for you because you see other people going through it.
Yeah. And I do you feel like, are you on Facebook or just Instagram?
Mostly Instagram. Facebook is just for family and stuff.
Yeah, it's different. If you like hashtag grief and loss, grief journey,
okay,
you easily find those people like us.
Okay.
And it's such a great community.
Yeah. So when my mom first passed away, it was probably in the first week. I dug through her whole Instagram, just looking at her pictures and her posts. So my grandma, my mom's mother, passed away 2 years ago, and it was so hard on my mom. And I found a grief page on my mom's Facebook, and I think it was Motherless Daughters. So I followed that one, and then I followed one other one.
Oh, on the Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then wow, because your mom died 4 months ago, and then 2 years ago, her mom.
Yes.
Right, and so
Yeah.
that she was expressing how she was feeling.
Yes, and I basically watched my mom's grief journey, like in front of my eyes, just not that long ago.
Right, and then little did you know that you would be on your own journey.
Yeah, because it was very unexpected. We had no clue.
Right, and it didn't help too because did it happen like right when the pandemic started?
Yeah, so my mom passed away March 8th, and it must have been, so she passed away on a Sunday, I kid you not. Friday of the following week, my brother's school was already shut down for the pandemic. So
Wow.
it was just days after.
Yeah, so then you shifted fast
Yes.
with everything.
So fast.
Mm. What I'm looking at your post right now. Your grief is not a burden. Can you share what that means to you?
So when I posted that, I felt this, I don't know, this like immense like heaviness, because I felt like reaching out to my friends just one more time was like almost inconvenient or a burden to them, even though they have never ever turned me down or ever gave me insensitive advice. But I felt like I was a burden, and I basically went to my friends one last time, and then I don't know, something clicked that time, and I was like, you are not a burden. Like, you are on your grief journey, and this is how it is, and like this is your reality, and people want to support you and comfort you. Like, you are not a burden. And I'm so happy that I only felt that way, like a burden, for just a few minutes, because that is like such a dark and alone space when you do feel like your grief is a burden. Because when someone passes away, everyone checks on you, brings you flowers and food for like the first few weeks. And then I just remember no one checking on me besides like my few friends. And I remember how like scary and alone it felt.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to ask for help when you're grieving.
Yeah, so isolating. And then
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people who've never had anyone die in their family or a close friend, they feel uncomfortable because they don't know what to say, like how to comfort you or how to support you. And so it's like educating people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay to ask me, and giving them permission.
Yes, absolutely. And at first, I was annoyed and angry that people weren't reaching out anymore.
Hold on just a second. Yes. She's leaving. I gotta tell her bye. Hold on right now. Yes. Bye, baby. Love you. Where are you going? Here. Hold on. Here, give Green a hug. Bye, Camila. Did you hear knocking?
Yeah.
She's like determined.
He said, "Let me
Yes. She's so funny.
in."
So anyways, gosh, what were we talking about?
Yeah.
Your
So,
friends. Yeah, like educating, and giving people permission because it's you. Like, as much as it's you,
yeah,
to you,
especially if
you
your
them.
person. Yeah, especially if your person passed away tragically, unexpectedly. I think they know that trauma is associated with it, so they're really like, I don't know what to do. And I had to learn that they're trying their best too. They don't know how to be there for you, and sometimes their absence doesn't mean that they don't care. It means I need to show them how they need to be there for
In
me.
your life. Yeah.
And that was hard.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I
people just didn't say anything to me. So
I know I had to call some people and be like, can you pick up some juice boxes? I can't find them anywhere. Yeah.
I Um, I I felt like later on that when out because I lived on another island, then I would come here to visit my sister lived. What I appreciated was when people who did it I didn't know would just say, "Hey," sometimes people thought I was my sister, and I was like, "Oh no, this I'm her sister." And then other times people would know I was her sister, and they would share us a story about her.
I love that.
I love that too because it made me feel like somebody loved my sister the way I love my sister.
Yeah. And you get to learn about them through their eyes. Like when I hear my brother talk about my mom and like little things that they did together, I'm like I'm learning about my mom all over again and like their own special relationship that they had because we didn't live together and it was basically my mom and him like against the world. And I just love hearing stories about them together. It warms my heart.
Yeah, because there's a gap between you and him.
Yeah. So my mom's relationship with my brother was so different than her and I's. We were like best friends, and he was like her baby. So she
So
got the best of both worlds.
right. So
Yeah.
she loved you, but he got like the extra because he's mommy's
Yeah.
boy.
Sweet little baby.
Oh,
The sweetest little guy ever.
right.
Mhm.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, so definitely encourage people to share like the memories, the good memories,
Yeah.
so that is like you're keeping them alive.
Yes. Yes.
Like it's not gonna like it's gonna like touch us, and yeah, we're gonna miss them. However, it's gonna make us feel like you value them as much as I do, and thank you for taking the time to tell me that story.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. Um, so is there anything else like you wanted to share, with people that you think they can consider if they're new to grieving, with someone they just recently lost? Is there anything? Because it's been 4 months. I know you shared what you did in the beginning, but is there anything last words you wanted to share?
Yeah. So I definitely want to touch base on people that lose their parent or their sibling unexpectedly because that is just like a grief punch to your gut. That just be gentle with yourself. It's so important to be kind and gentle with yourself because the trauma and the healing is messy and it's scary. And you just like need to be gentle and ease yourself into it because it is so hard. Like, even now, it's still so fresh, but like a lot of times I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I just keep thinking about like how I found my mother passed away, like I was the one to find her, and it's hard. It's like you think you've come so far and then you have like night sweats and you can't sleep. So just be gentle with yourself. Don't ever be scared to ask for help or seek therapy or share your story with people because you never know like who it's going to touch.
Mm, thank you. I really appreciate you like taking the time to share. I'm really thankful that you also started your grief journey like a month after, uh, because it really shows people the rawness of it all. A lot of times people want to have plans, like plan things out, and they want to know, like you said, just tell me the answer. Like, how do you fix this? How do you deal with this? It's not, there's no cut and dry answer.
And I think it's important to show those raw emotions. Like my emotions from a day to day are a roller coaster. I'm happy a lot, I'm sad a lot. I always think about my mom constantly. And I think it's important to know that like your relationship with that person is eternal. Like you can't ever take someone's love away. Yeah, even if they pass away.
I read a quote. I don't know if it was you or someone, but when someone you love dies and then you feel pain, and you're grieving, that's just your way of saying, was it? They say something like, that is not your evidence, but that's just your body saying how much you love them.
Yes, I love that. It
You
is
know,
so true. And
it,
grief is so physiological. Like some days I'm like, I can't breathe. Some
mm,
days it's just really hard. Like I'm ugly crying, I'm shaking, I'm cold sweats. So yeah.
yeah, and then other days you're being silly with Aiden,
Exactly.
laughing.
Yeah. Running around having fun, so you never know.
Yeah, because I mean that's his only job as a kid,
I
right?
know.
Is just to enjoy life.
Yeah. I know, and it's so sad that he's already had a fair share of grief. But sometimes I explain it to him like, maybe you're really lucky that you just know how the world works now. And you didn't have to learn like a very tough lesson when you're 30 or when you can't handle it. Like it could have crumbled you then. So it's a big blessing that it happened now where you can learn and let it help you mold into who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not his identity, but it's part of his story. Yeah. Because
And
sometimes I think that like losing my mom isn't my identity, but it's a major like chapter in my story.
yeah, and you're in a new chapter, but then you're carrying her legacy
Yeah.
into this new chapter of your life
Yeah.
in a way that you didn't before, but now you can. And I just think like just even like just you sharing what you said that your mom told you, she really loved you a lot.
Yeah. She's my
She
favorite
still
person.
loves you, and you're still her favorite person too.
Yeah. I
And
think so
and
too.
and you having the courage to do what you do, it's just kindness.
Thank you.
Your bravery to share parts of you that you never thought you could do, or you know you did do. It's gonna make a difference. Maybe you don't see it now, but
Yeah.
one day someone's gonna cross paths with one of your posts, and it's gonna help them from a very dark place that we can go when we're grieving, and to remind them they're not alone.
I hope so. I love that.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Sierra. So guys, if you wanna follow Sierra on Instagram, it's Forever Grief Journey, and she just is about as real as you can get. It's been 4 months since her mom's unexpected passing, and so please follow her, and um, please follow Healing with Aloha Podcast on Spotify or Anchor.fm. And thank you so much for this time. You hang on, and guys, you guys have a wonderful and beautiful day. Aloha. Oh gosh, hold on. Oh, this whole